Thank you very much, Father Nolan, Father Kelly, Reverend Fathers, and my dear brothers. About 3 years ago, I sat somewhere in that area, not in this chapel, but in the chapel before it. And I remember having so many wants. I remember saying to myself, I want to do what I want with my life. I want to be able to have the freedom to go off and start a family and get married and just kind of like live my own life, follow my own path. And yet, something within me, it felt like something was pulling me towards something greater. And I remember going to a priest, his name was Father Alexander. And Father Alexander told me, when I told him all my wants and all my desires, he told me to pray Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I remember this really struck me because for so many years I had wondered what this really means. Because how could someone not want? How could someone, the psalm didn't really make sense to me. I'll come right back to this. Let's go back about, I'd say, to 7th grade. This is when it all started. In 7th grade, I had these really powerful spiritual experiences. I felt like I was experiencing this battleground, this battle between good and evil, between the devil trying to bring this despair upon me, and between the Lord who was trying to save me, trying to bring me his love, his salvation. And throughout this battle, I found myself growing really, really close to God, really growing in my faith. And I remember asking God, why? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you having me go through such great trials? I just don't understand. And the thing he said to me in my heart, God said to me, so that you can grow as close to me as possible. Which is pretty fair. It makes sense. And my response to him, which this is a very dangerous question, and this is a very dangerous response. My response to him was, okay, God, how do I grow as close to you as possible? And he responded with one word, priesthood. And from that day, I began to live a perfectly virtuous life, and I accepted God and followed him. Of course not. Of course not. What I actually did is I was like, all right, God, let's make a deal, okay? Listen to this. I'll become a deacon. And then, yeah, you'll be happy, right? It's a pretty good deal. Turns out that's not really how it works. But I feared this. I really ran away from it. I was honestly terrified. Because there's so much unknown about this call, and there's so much where I have to let go and say, I'm not in control of my life. And it really terrified me. And I remember just all throughout the rest of middle school and for the rest of high school, I found myself just running really far away. Living just in this fear of what God is going to call me to do. But the thing about God is, even as you run away, even as we push him away, he still pursues us and he still follows us and he calls us back to himself. And I found myself near the end of high school, I found there's all these different people and they were making their life choices. I'm going to go to this college, I'm going to do this with my life. And I remember thinking so hard, I'm going to do anything except for what God is asking. But as I imagined these different things, I couldn't imagine myself being happy, doing anything except for pursuing this path which God had asked me to do. It was honestly so intense that I remember this moment, I was sitting in my car and I told myself, either I'm going to become an atheist or a priest. Wow, that's a choice, But I was serious because I knew, if this is real, it's worth everything. And if it's not real, it's not worth anything at all. I finally kind of gave God a shot. It was just like through this logic. I remember like God had been pursuing me and constantly just like asking me like, will you listen to what I asked you to do? Will you follow me? And I finally had a moment when I told God like, I'll give it a shot. And the reason is through this logic, which was if God has created me and God knows what's best for me, regardless of what I want and regardless of how I feel, doing what he is calling me to do will ultimately be for the best. So I gave it a shot. And I came here, and I had all these wants. I had all these struggles. I went to Father, and I told him, Father, I want to get married. I want to start my own family. I don't want to do these things. I'm afraid. And he told me, pray Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And it all clicked. Like, I want so many things, but the thing about God is sometimes he knows, not sometimes, he always knows what's best for us, right? And sometimes he makes us lie down in green pastures because he's like, no, this is going to be for the best. You have to trust me. I remember leaving there and I went to my vocation director and the conversation blows me away. I cannot believe he gave me the seminary application. I cannot believe it. Because I remember telling him this. I told him this. Father, I want to get married. I don't want to be a priest. Can I have the application, please? And he gave it to me. Because he could see something where it's like, okay, does he want to do this? Maybe not. But is he willing to follow God and to listen to his will? Yes. I find myself here, and I found that being in seminary, honestly, there's been so many different moments which are like so illogical. I look at like this summers when I do totus tuus. There's moments when I have the least amount of free time. I have like the least amount of control over my schedule, and it's the most amount of like service, of giving, and so little for me to like serving myself. And yet I find that it's in those moments when I'm most fulfilled. There's so many things that they seem illogical, but it's like it's the presence of God. It's where God is calling us. Honestly, that is where like the fruit is. That is the green pastures. That are the green pastures. So I've had like a lot of ups and downs. I've fought God. I've wrestled with God for a long time. But I'm grateful I'm here, and I can say with confidence that God has never given up on me. And I also hope that you all know that God will never give up on you. For that, I say praise be Jesus Christ.